everyone, I'm Catherine and here I am back again with my very weird choice of clothes, my strange hair and my not very good looking face. Today I'm here to tell you a story that happened to me and it has a valuable life lesson. That's why I decided to share this with you. I have a very serious case of anxiety. I've had to deal with depression and I've had an eating disorder. I've seen 3 psychologists and I'm about to meet the 4th one to do some more CBT. I always tell people that finding the right psychologist may be a hard process because there are thousands of therapists and thousands of psychologists, and not all of them are going to be the right ones for you, no matter how professional they seem, no matter how nice they are. Well, you have to connect with that person because a psychologist is someone who you have to trust in to take care of you, to give you the tools so you can use to recover. It's someone who is going to hear a lot of your life experiences. You have to be fully honest. It's not like a regular doctor that you see once in a year when you are sick. A psychologist is someone you see very often, so you have to be comfortable around that person. The first experience I had with a psychologist was a bit crazy. She was totally unprofessional, and today I'm here to tell you a few stories I've had with her. I was a junior in high school and my anxiety was not that bad at the time, but I had to deal with a lot of stress and a lot of pressure from the exams in school. But I didn't have a panic disorder back then, so it was just generalized anxiety disorder. I don't remember how my mom found out about that place. It was a clinic, a psychology clinic for kids and adolescents, and she booked me an appointment with a psychologist she didn't know, and I went there and the first few sessions were okay, they were fine. I shared my life experiences and my psychologist at first was very nice. She was very talkative and she shared a lot of her experiences and life stories with me, which is totally fine because I like learning from other people's experiences too. But as time went on, things became a bit different and a bit less professional. So there was this one time when she received a call during our session. So she received the call, but it was not exactly urgent. My psychologist had a daughter and her daughter belonged to a group of scouts and they were doing this camp thing the next weekend, and my psychologist was trying to gather up information because the daughter was totally clueless and didn't even know what they were going to do the next weekend, so she was just receiving information about the camp thing for her daughter. She spent almost 15 minutes on the phone while I was sitting in front of her, not saying anything, and after that, she hung up the call and she spent the next minutes talking about how irresponsible her 15-year-old daughter was, and she was pissed off because her 15-year-old daughter didn't know how to take care of things, and so she was ranting about her teenage daughter, and I was listening to her and I was like, okay, I'm glad you're taking care of your problems during my session. I really hope it's helping you because it's not helping me at all. Also, something she did that made me very uncomfortable was talk about other patients. This is something very unprofessional because when it comes to doctors, especially psychologists and psychiatrists, what happens during the session, it stays in the session. It's like going to Las Vegas basically. But seriously, what happens during your session isn't supposed to be shared with other people unless it's extremely necessary, unless you are a danger to yourself or to someone else. And one time she was telling me about her other patients, and she told me there's this guy who's a college student and he has a driver's license, but he needs his mommy to drive him to the appointments because he's depressed. And I mean, he's a grown-up, why can't he drive himself, and blah blah blah. And she was complaining and making fun of the guy for not being able to drive to the appointments he had with her because he was depressed. That's ridiculous. The guy has a mental illness. When you have a mental illness, you are unable to do things. You are unable to have a regular life, and it's not like it's his fault. And she also told me another story about a freshman in high school and how she was dating this guy who was also a patient of hers. And one time she was getting out of her office and she was there with her father, and her parents didn't know she was dating, and the boy was sitting in the waiting room, and they met, and it was awkward for everyone, and she made fun of it a lot, and it was so funny to her, and she was telling me all about it. I'm going to leave the worst thing for the end of the video, but there was this one time when I was getting ready for my appointment. I got inside her office and she had been talking on the phone before my appointment. So she worked as a social assistant in a social center somewhere. She spent, like, I'm not even joking, half of my therapy session she was responsible for this group project, and her co-worker, who was in her 30s, was not doing her job correctly, and she had to correct the things for her, and she had to do all the work. And she started ranting and talking about how her co-worker was a terrible person and she was totally not responsible at all. And she was talking to me during my session about her problems. And that's when I began realizing that my therapy sessions were not my therapy sessions. I was paying my psychologist, and she was getting paid for me to be her psychologist. Before I start this episode, I don't mind when people are late, but time makes me very stressed. If I'm late, I get very anxious and very stressed, and it truly makes me nervous not having things planned out, and it's just part of my anxiety. Got there, I was waiting in the living room. The patient before me had gotten out of her office. Her door was open, but she didn't call me. She was talking on the phone. I told myself, okay, it's probably an urgent issue that needs to be taken care of, and she's talking on the phone, and that's fine. The thing she was talking about wasn't exactly urgent. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but her office was very close to the waiting room because the clinic was very small, and she had the door open, and she was talking on the phone, and I heard her say things like, oh, you know what, I think he's the one, my kids really like him, I went on a date with him last night, and blah blah. She was talking on the phone with a friend about her new boyfriend. While I was waiting for my therapy session, I was wasting my time waiting for her. And I told myself, okay, just calm down, it's fine, it's only going to be a few minutes, it's totally okay. And it wasn't just a few minutes. And then those few minutes turned into half an hour. She spent half of my session talking on the phone with her friend and bragging about her new boyfriend, while I was stressed and waiting in the waiting room. I got inside, I had a 30 minutes therapy session because she had to leave at 7 p.m. And that's, in my mind, that was the last drop. That's when I decided to quit. I told my mom I didn't want to go anymore. I told her what was happening and she agreed with me. It was very unprofessional of her to act that way. I was practically her psychologist and it was ridiculous. She didn't even respect my privacy. I once told her that I had a Tumblr blog and she forced me to say the name of my blog, and I told her I didn't want to, and she was like, oh come on, but I don't have a Tumblr account, you can just say it. And I was like, but I don't want to. I need people to respect my privacy because my privacy is something that is super important to me, and if people don't respect my privacy, that's a huge problem for me. And she was forcing me to tell her things I didn't want to. So I don't even know how that woman is a psychologist. I truly don't understand that, because she does all the things she shouldn't do as a psychologist. She shared information about her other patients, which left me wondering, what is she telling other patients about me? Is she making fun of me too? She would toss out her problems at me, and I'm very thankful for not being a person that mixes my problems with other people's problems. If I was one of those people that absorbs all the stress from other people's problems, I would leave that appointment even more stressed than I was supposed to. This happened in the beginning of the year. It was spring, and during my summer holidays I had several panic attacks. They recommended me this doctor, and he's been my doctor for the past 2.5 years, I think, and he's just a great doctor. He hates being late. When there's something urgent coming up or he's late for some reason and I have to wait for him like 5 minutes, he apologizes, and I'm like, it's fine, it's totally fine. This is why I always tell people finding the right psychologist is very important. It may not work out when it first happens, but you have to keep trying and search for the right one for you. And that is all I have for today. I really hope you enjoyed this story. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite part in this whole messed up story. Leave this video a thumbs up. I really work hard on these videos, and seeing you like them, it makes me very happy. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye!